West Coast has had some tough losses. Is there anyone particularly that stands out to you as kind of the hardest one of those to swallow?
Nipsey and Nate Dogg. It just felt like they had so much to do. Same with Pac as well. I feel like he didn't even get a chance to finish. He died at 25. All of us had just flew back from New York. Suge, Pac, myself. They went to Vegas. I went to Warren G's because we had like a minor misunderstanding because that was at the time where I had spoke in New York about not having issues with Puffy and Biggie. That rubbed Pac the wrong way. The next day, we getting blown up on the pages, 919-1111, and it's Suge, and he telling us that him and Pac got shot and get on out to Vegas. When I walked in, I could just feel like he wasn't even there. And I fainted. Then his mother got me up and walked me in the bathroom and had a conversation with me about being strong. So she gave us a moment for me to say some things to him as far as how much I love him, but I knew that that was gonna be my last time speaking with him. Damn. He was so sarcastic. Pac didn't give him. If he loved you, he loved you. If he hated you, he hated you. Wasn't no in between, wasn't no cut. And he loved to love people. So he wasn't just a natural, aggressive, mad at you kind of person. He naturally loved people. What happened was, Nas ain't got a lot of people with him, but he got a lot of people with him, if you know what I mean. And I'm seeing him and I'm knowing, because I'm a gangbang. I'm seeing with their hands on their guns. I step away from him. Him and Nas right here, boom. Nas like, what's up, Pac? Man, I love your music, I'm a fan. That's what Pac say. If you a fan, I dissed you, Jay-Z, Biggie, he named off a gang of them. I dissed all you on the song. And if you a fan and you ain't got no beef, don't say nothing. And Nas said, I love you. I never diss you. And he shook his hand and he hugged him. And then when he walked off, Pac said, yeah, I punked that. In my mind, I was like, nah, he let us slide.
Tupac Shakur's case has always been one that's left people's heads scratching, trying to figure out who exactly took the life of the young talented artist. Well, after almost 30 years, Tupac's case has finally been solved. But instead of relieving people, it's left most of us in more confusion, since the person behind the trigger has always been right in front of us the whole time. When word spread that Tupac's life was brutally cut short in Las Vegas due to a drive-by shooting, it sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community, plunging fans into deep despair. His death quickly marked him as one of the most impactful people in the hip-hop world. He didn't only inspire some of the most notable artists of this era, but some affirm he's the reason they chose to pursue music at all. Tupac's case was a puzzling one, leaving everyone scratching their heads as the mystery of the person behind the trigger left more questions than answers. When a perpetrator couldn't be identified, suspicion naturally fell on the man in the driver's seat, Suge Knight. At that point, it seemed logical to blame him, as rumors began circulating that Tupac wanted to leave Death Row. This angered Knight, the owner of Death Row Records, but when Suge Knight was questioned, he responded that Tupac would have cussed you out. He said, there was a report earlier this week in the New York Post that Tupac was looking to leave Death Row Records. Is that true? You should answer that. You don't take a person like Tupac, who, if you listen to every song on All Eyes on Me, every song on Machiavelli, every time he does an interview, what's the first thing he says? Death Row. Tupac loved Death Row. Tupac loved me. I loved him. I mean, Tupac took Death Row to the next level. We worked hard, and we laid the foundation down, and Snoop took the baton, and he ran with it, and he did a great job with it. But Tupac got the baton. Not only did he win the race, he finished so fast he was able to sit back and trace his thug passion and come up with another plan. I mean, if you'd asked Tupac that question, that he was planning on leaving Death Row, he definitely would have cussed you out. Now, decades later, it appears that Knight may have been honest all along. New evidence has come to light connecting Dwayne Keefe, aka Keefe D, to Tupac's murder. Keefe D is also known for being a member of the Southside Compton Crips and for his numerous sit-downs with DJ Vlad. What we didn't realize was that these interviews, posted by DJ Vlad, contained the truth about the entire situation, which would eventually settle the public's curiosity. In these conversations, Keefe D claimed that Sean Diddy Combs ordered the hit, allegedly stating, "Man, I want to get rid of them dudes," referring to Tupac and Suge Knight. In part 14 of DJ Vlad's interviews, things get a bit odd because Keefe D tries not to implicate himself. He also appeared somewhat anxious, narrating his story as if he'd been caught in the act. He said, "I'm not going to go into details on that one. Keep your streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that. I'm gonna go ahead and read from the book." Well, let him buy the book then. Okay, well, I'm just gonna read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I can see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first shot skinned Shug in the head, and I thought that motherfucker was dead. I had heard some stories supposedly that Shug used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Shug was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit. This situation alone should have been the conclusive evidence that resolved the 27-year-old mystery case. However, as things unfolded, investigators seemed to ignore vital opportunities when it came time to question Keefe D. A lingering question persists. Does his confession actually align with previous assumptions about that tragic night? This investigative lapse has led numerous people to formulate a belief that the entire incident was merely a smokescreen, a cover-up enabling the real perpetrator to escape justice. One fan voiced, "Keefe D is trying to cover for Suge Knight because he knows something was up. He's stuck to that alibi for years. Sure, you can get away with murder, but eventually it's gonna come back around. I know someone serving 40 years for a single crime but got away with so many more." Meanwhile, another commented, "Was Keefe D genuinely involved? But why would he throw his own nephew under the bus? Was it Knight? Was it Diddy? Did the police facilitate a cover-up? Absolutely." There's been a whirlwind of mixed emotions from all the fans. Whether or not Keefe D is truly the reason for Tupac's demise is ultimately up to your judgment. This could potentially be a cover-up to shift the focus away from Knight and keep his legacy free from controversy, or conversely, just a desperate attempt from the police to finally close this case once and for all. If you thought all the Tupac theories were just in the rap world, Orlando Brown might make you think twice. In a chat with Can Capone News, he threw out a wild idea. Keefe D and Tupac Shakur are the same person. Yes, you heard that correctly. He suggested that you can't arrest Keefe D because he's really Tupac, who many believe is dead. This idea had the internet doing a double take. As the video went viral, people reacted with disbelief, laughter, and confusion. One user, Elizan Tutish, made a funny comment, "Crack the case, all right." Orlando thinks that the police aren't going to arrest Tupac because they'd basically be arresting Keefe D and Tupac's body. He even talked about the belief that Tupac is still alive, mentioning things like Tupac's hologram shows. After the interview, many people were left wondering if Orlando was just being his usual, unusual self, or if he meant something more. In the midst of all this, Reggie Wright Jr., who used to be the head of security for Death Row Records, gave his thoughts. Talking about the new police activity around Tupac's still unsolved murder, he said, "I bet Keefe D has been having the runs for the last 2 weeks, hinting that Keefe D might be feeling nervous." Before he got arrested recently, Keefe D didn't hold back in his words. In an earlier chat with The Art of Dialogue, he answered Reggie saying, "Not that I know of." When asked if he'd be arrested soon, he also expressed his annoyance. With Reggie saying, "I said I wasn't going to ever bring his name up again. He did that crappy phone call, like a tap line or something. This is recorded. And he didn't let me hear the thing. I should sue him." Keith's dislike for Reggie was clear, even making a crude joke at one point. "He acts like he wants to give me some head or something. I don't know what the heck is wrong with him. He needs to leave me the heck alone." However, Keefe D's words from a 2021 interview cast a dark shadow. Before getting arrested, he shared, "We just pulled up to the stoplight. They were making a right. There were about 17 cars. We just pulled up in the gutter lane and saw them. And that first shot hit big boy Suge Knight in the head. The next ones hit Tupac." His open sharing of that night provided a chillingly detailed view of the events that led to Tupac's death. It's been over 25 years since Tupac Shakur was lost in a tragic drive-by shooting. This event has stayed one of hip-hop's biggest unsolved mysteries, but recent happenings have sparked new interest and speculation. Here's where Dwayne Keefe Davis, also known as Keefe D, a self-confessed gang member with a hard-to-ignore story, comes in. This isn't the first time he's been linked with Tupac's murder. In past talks, and even in his book, Keefe D has said he was in the white Cadillac that pulled up to Tupac's car on that heartbreaking night in Las Vegas in 1996. As Tupac left a Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon fight, he was shot 4 times and died less than a week later. Breaking news tells us that a grand jury in Clark County charged Keefe D with 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon, along with a gang enhancement.